Welcome back to Crash Course History. Last time we spoke about the defeat of Hitler in World War II, and today we are going to discuss the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
After the Allied victory in World War II against Hitler, Mussolini, and the other enemy powers, Japan was expected to follow suit. However, Japan did not.
In Japanese military tradition, defeat in a war or battle is considered treachery and treason. If a soldier, citizen, or leader failed to honor their country, they would follow the samurai code and commit suicide through a religious process known as seppuku. In this act, a person would stab a sword into their abdomen, and then he or she would then be beheaded by a second soldier.
Since the Japanese believed so strongly in their culture and honoring their country and leader, they basically wouldn't surrender until everyone was dead.
A total of about 420,000 Americans had already lost their lives in World War II, and President Truman did not want to risk the lives of any more Americans to force Japan to surrender. Thus, he asked his nuclear engineering corps to build a weapon that would surely force Japan to surrender.
They were assigned to the Manhattan Project. Based in Manhattan, New York, the Manhattan Project was a secret military project created in 1942 in order to create the first U.S. nuclear bomb. In fear that Nazi Germany was going to use a nuclear weapon during World War II, the Manhattan Project was introduced. The project used the Los Alamos laboratory to produce 4 main nuclear weapons, 2 of which, Little Boy and Fat Man, were used against Japan in August 1945. In 1946, the Manhattan Project officially ended and became a part of the Atomic Energy Commission.
President Truman and his associates wanted to find a place in Japan that was densely populated enough to have an impact on Japan, but was not the capital. So right off the bat, Tokyo was out of the picture. The US decided on Hiroshima as the location to drop the first bomb. Then they loaded the bomb, dubbed Fat Man, into a B-29 bomber on Tinian Island. On the morning of August 6th, the planes took off toward Hiroshima and dropped the bomb around 9 a.m.
Approximately 80,000 people are killed as a direct result of the blast. Another 35,000 people are injured, and by the end of the year, 60,000 people are killed as a result of the fallout. People are instantly vaporized, and in some cases, their carbon shadows are the only remaining memory of them. Most of the land and its features such as the air, soil, water, and crops were contaminated by nuclear fallout. 4.4 square miles were incinerated, and raging forest fires destroyed many more.
Nevertheless, the Japanese still refused to surrender. President Truman offered a peace settlement, but the Japanese continued to decline. 3 days later, a second atomic bomb, Little Boy, was dropped on Nagasaki. 60,000 civilians were instantly killed. The radiation exposure killed thousands of people and caused many long-term problems such as genetic mutations, cancer, and leukemia.
After the bombing of Nagasaki, the emperor begged his people to surrender, and the Japanese finally surrendered. However, there are mass suicides because of the honor code and the humiliation of defeat.
The relationship between America and Japan was significantly impacted as a result of the bombings. The United States put Japan under international control, but they had a goal to reconstruct their relationship with Japan for a peaceful coexistence. The United States allowed Japan to keep their emperor, give full freedom to their citizens, and create a Congress.
Many countries became intimidated by the power of nuclear weapons and sought peace with each other. Many outlawed nuclear weapons altogether. The use of nuclear weapons is now banned unless under specific defense circumstances.
After the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Soviets were determined to show that they were not intimidated and started developing nuclear weapons of their own. The US feared the potential nuclear threats of the Soviets. A nuclear arms race ensued and the Cold War began.
That's all the time we have for today. Join us next time on Crash Course History.
Bang!